right. So we're going to be taking a deep dive into A Christmas Carol,
Okay.
by Charles Dickens.
Sounds good.
And
Familiar with it.
most people know the story,
Yeah.
right? They've seen adaptations.
Right.
But I think there's a lot more to unpack here than just a heartwarming holiday story.
I think so, too. I mean, I always think it's interesting that Dickens uses a ghost story, to talk about some really serious issues going on in Victorian England.
Exactly. So we're gonna dive into the text of this novella.
Oh, okay.
And really kind of pick apart some of the details and what Dickens might be saying about society,
Yeah.
and all that. So we meet Ebenezer Scrooge, the main character, and right away, he's kind of this iconic miser, right?
Yeah, the humbug.
Humbug.
Right off the bat.
That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
But I've always been struck by the descriptions of his house.
Oh.
It's like cold and empty and dark, and it's almost like a reflection of...
Well, and that's Dickens, right? I mean, that's what he does so well. He uses the setting to reflect the internal state of his characters, Like Scrooge is this shriveled up, empty person, right?
It's like a physical manifestation of his.
And so is his house.
Yeah. And then there's that detail. I always think it's so interesting about how his...
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
His partner, Jacob Marley, who's dead.
Yeah.
But the sign outside still says Scrooge and Marley.
Still says it years later.
Years later, like he's still hanging on.
Yeah, like a part of him can't let go.
Even though he is everything that Marley's ghost comes to regret.
Yes, exactly. Oh, and speaking of Marley's ghost.
Right.
That scene, like when he first appears, I mean...
That's so creepy.
It's terrifying. It's like foggy London. It's Christmas Eve.
Right.
Scrooge is all alone in his chambers and...
Yeah. And then, boom, this ghost appears, draped in chains.
Right, groaning under the weight of his past.
Yeah. And it always gives me chills.
And that fog, it's not just atmosphere. It symbolizes like the moral confusion, the darkness that Scrooge is like trapped in, you know?
Yeah.
So that's, I think, one of the things Dickens does really well. He uses all these symbols, right?
Yes.
So the chains aren't just there to be spooky. They represent, the burden of greed, like the weight of his disregard for other people.
Right.
And it makes you think, like, what chains are we creating for ourselves?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
In our own lives.
That's a good point.
With our actions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, what are we carrying with us?
Exactly.
Wow. All right. So then we have The Ghost of Christmas Past.
Okay.
This one always kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Me too.
Because he's like childlike but old. He's got this torch that he can like extinguish at will.
Right.
It's like, are we going to see or are we not?
Yeah, he's in control of like the light of the past.
Yeah. It's almost like Dickens is saying that you can never really escape your past.
Right.
It's always there. It can illuminate you. It can haunt you.
And his form is always changing too, right?
Yes. Like a leg and an arm, and then he's whole.
Yeah.
Then he's back to a leg.
I think that emphasizes how memory is fragmented.
Right.
Yeah. It's not always complete and whole.
Yeah.
It can come back to us in weird ways.
Yes. And surprise us.
Yeah.
And shape who we are, whether we want it to or not.
Right. Even if we try to like bury it.
Yes, exactly. The scene that always gets to me with The Ghost of Christmas Past is Fezziwig's Christmas party.
Oh, yeah.
Like everyone's so happy and there's music and there's dancing and it's just this beautiful celebration.
Yeah.
And it's such a contrast to Scrooge's current state, Yeah. And it's like you see this glimmer of the man that he
could have been.
Could have been, yeah.
Yeah. And I think Dickens is saying that, joy, generosity.
Yeah.
Those are choices.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like...
Not just personality traits.
Yes. Right. It's something that
It's active.
You can choose to be joyful.
Yes.
You can choose to be generous.
Yeah, that's a good point. But even Scrooge, when he sees his younger self, at Fezziwig's party, he weeps.
Right.
So there's a little...
crack in that icy facade.
Yes. Like, there's hope.
Yeah, and that's what Dickens does, right? He doesn't give us like a one-dimensional villain. He gives us a complex human being who we know is capable of change.
Yes.
Because we see that little glimmer.
Yes. Okay, so then we move on to The Ghost of Christmas Present.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And talk about a change in tone.
Soul shift, yeah.
I mean, this guy is like a jolly giant.
Yeah.
He's got a feast surrounding him. He's sprinkling incense on people's dinners.
Right. He's like a walking Christmas card.
Yeah, yeah.
And don't forget that detail about the incense, right? Because it's like Dickens is highlighting, the spirit of Christmas, the sharing, the goodwill.
Oh, right.
It's almost like a magical blessing on the food.
Yeah, yeah. But then he takes Scrooge to the Cratchit family.
Right.
And it's just so poignant because, they're having this very meager Christmas dinner.
Right.
Tiny Tim is, this sweet little kid who's sick but cheerful.
Brave.
Yeah. And it's just so different from Scrooge's lavish but lonely.
Well, right. And that's where the social commentary, gets really potent because you have the Cratchits who, despite their poverty, they have all this love and gratitude, They're like a foil to Scrooge,
right,
who's materially wealthy but completely miserable.
Yeah. Yeah. He's highlighting like the human connection.
Right. That's the true wealth.
Yes. Which Scrooge has totally missed out on.
Totally missed out on.
And you start to see a little bit of Scrooge's heart thawing,
Right.
Because he expresses concern for Tiny Tim.
Right.
But the Ghost of Christmas Present doesn't let him off easy.
No, he doesn't.
Because remember those two horrifying children?
Oh, yeah.
Ignorance and want.
Hiding under his robes.
Lurking under his robes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
that's like pure social commentary right there.
Yeah.
Right? It's like Dickens is...
Those are the societal ills
yes,
that he saw, plaguing London at the time.
Right, right.
And he's not letting us forget about them.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though it's a Christmas story,
yeah,
there are real problems going on.
Yeah, it's like beneath the surface of holiday cheer, there's these real issues that need to be addressed.
Right.
And it makes you think, like, what's the ignorance and want of our time?
Yeah, how does that manifest today? Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. So it really adds like another layer to the story.
Yeah, it's not just individual.
It's not just personal.
Right, it's like societal.
Yeah, yeah. It's a call for societal change.
Totally.
Yeah.
To recognize the plight of others.
Exactly, exactly.
So then we get to the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come.
Oh, yeah.
And
this guy is.
This one is the most mysterious.
Oh, he's scary.
The most ominous of the three.
He doesn't say anything.
Not at work.
It's just that shrouded figure.
Pointing.
Yeah, it really emphasizes that, like...
your choice is
the future's not set.
Unwritten. Yeah.
Your choices today determine what's going to happen.
And I think that silence is deliberate.
Oh, yeah.
It's like he's forcing Scrooge and us as the readers to confront, like...
the unknown.
The unknown without any explanation.
Right.
He's got to figure it out for himself.
Yeah. And some of the scenes are pretty rough.
Oh, they're bleak.
Like when he overhears those businessmen talking about someone's death.
Right.
And they're like indifferent.
They don't care.
Some are even happy.
Yeah, a little bit of glee.
Yeah, it's like...
it's chilling.
Yeah.
But it really highlights how isolated Scrooge has become.
Yeah.
He's so focused on money and profit that he's like totally forgotten.
Human connection.
Yeah, like basic human decency.
Yeah, so in death, he's just...
another businessman.
a gossip item.
Gone.
Not mourned.
Not mourned at all, yeah.
Yep.
And then that scene in the pawn shop...
where
they're like selling off the stuff from the dead guy's house.
The stolen goods.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
I mean, it makes you wonder, was Scrooge so blind that he couldn't see that, like, none of this stuff matters?
It's all temporary.
Yeah. In the end, what really matters is the impact you have on others.
Right.
The relationships you make.
The connections.
Yeah, the kindness that you share.
Well,
that's what lasts.
Yeah, good point. But that scene in the graveyard with Scrooge's grave.
Oh, my God.
Neglected.
Overgrown.
Forgotten. Like, nobody cares.
I think that's his legacy.
It's a powerful symbol of his, like, spiritual poverty.
Yeah.
He's got all this money.
Right.
But, like...
no one cares.
Zero human connection.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
You can just feel his regret.
Oh, absolutely.
At that moment.
Desperate.
Yeah, it's not just fear of death.
It's the wasted life.
Yeah, the realization that, like...
yeah.
You lived for the wrong things.
He spent his whole life chasing profit.
Yeah.
And now...
then what does it matter?
What does it matter?
Yeah.
He's all alone.
Yeah, and then he wakes up.
Right.
Christmas morning.
A changed man.
Oh, he's so happy.
It's like a Christmas miracle.
He's like running around his room,
right?
Touching the spots where the ghosts were.
I know. It's like he can't believe it.
Yeah, he's giddy.
He's been given a second chance.
That's a little kid.
I love that. He just goes, all out.
Oh, yeah.
Sends the turkey to the Cratchits.
The prize turkey.
Donates to huge donation.
Yeah, reconciles with his nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, he's like making up for lost time.
You can't do enough good.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's genuine.
Right.
It's not just like trying to erase his past.
It's a real change of heart.
Yeah.
He's making amends.
Yeah, and that scene with Bob Cratchit.
Oh, so good.
Where he's like,
pays him a raise.
I'm going to be like a second father to Tiny Tim.
Yeah.
I'm going to help your family.
He's taking responsibility for the well-being of others.
Yeah, it's not just about profit anymore.
Right.
It's about people.
Yeah.
And, of course, Tiny Tim lives.
Of course.
It's like the perfect ending.
Oh, yeah.
Scrooge goes from the miser to, like, the embodiment of Christmas spirit.
Yeah, a beacon of generosity.
Yeah.
I know, right? Everyone loves a happy ending.
Yeah.
But I think what makes this story so powerful
is that it's more than just a fairy tale, you know?
Right.
Like, Scrooge's transformation is dramatic,
Uh-huh.
but it feels real.
Yeah.
He doesn't just magically become good.
Right.
He's really forced to confront himself.
Yeah.
You know, his past, his present.
His choices.
Yeah, and what his future might hold.
And it's like those ghosts peeled away all those layers.
Right. Like the bitterness, the greed.
Yeah, yeah.
And we see this like...
Yeah, the real Scrooge.
Yeah, the wounded person underneath.
Like, who hurt you, Scrooge?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once he sees himself clearly...
Yeah.
The change feels inevitable.
Yeah, like, of course he's going to change.
Right.
After all that.
And that's the power of self-reflection, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a big takeaway for all of us.
It's so easy to get caught up.
Oh, yeah.
In our own lives.
In the daily grind.
Our wants, our desires.
Right, yeah. But A Christmas Carol is like forcing us to step outside ourselves and think about...
the bigger picture.
Yeah. How do our actions affect other people?
Right. Right.
And were we living a life that really...
reflects what we believe in.
Yeah.
Our values.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy to see Scrooge as this, like...
cartoon character.
Yeah, this caricature, this over the top.
Right.
But I think...
there's a little bit of Scrooge.
Yeah, we all have.
In all of us.
A little bit of Scrooge in us.
You know, the selfishness.
Yeah, yeah.
The fear.
Getting money.
Yeah, valuing things over people.
Yeah, yeah. Good point. So as we're kind of wrapping up our deep dive here into A Christmas Carol, what resonates most with you? Like,
that's a good question.
Yeah, what's the one thing you'll take away from this?
For me, I think it's that it's never too late to change. You know? Like, Scrooge is...
an old man.
He's up there in age, yeah.
Yeah.
And he still transforms.
Right.
So it gives me hope that, like, no matter where we are in life, we can always grow. We can always be more compassionate, more generous.
I love that. And it doesn't have to be this big, huge, dramatic thing.
It can start small.
Small acts of kindness.
Yeah.
Just being more present with people.
Yeah. Choose connection over isolation.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yeah. The spirit of Christmas.
Right.
It's not just for the holidays.
That's a way of life.
Yeah. It's about being kind and generous.
Yeah. All year round.
All year round.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive.
I enjoyed it.
Into A Christmas Carol. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we hope this has given you some food for thought, maybe inspired you to spread a little Christmas cheer.
Spread the cheer.
All year round. Until next time.
Happy holidays.
May your days be merry and bright.